All right, everyone, today we are talking about different speech events. This is going to be a little bit of a different turn from what we've been talking about, which is debate for the past few weeks, but we're going to specifically talk about speech right now. This is probably one of my favorite parts of what we get to do in obviously speech and debate, but I really do have a passion for speech, and I hope you guys do too, because there are lots of really cool things that you can do and explore in speech. So let's get excited. So just a kind of reminder of what we talked about yesterday, kind of what is speech, what are we talking about when we talk about competitive speech. We remember that it's lots of different types of speeches and performances. Some of them are memorized, some of them are unmemorized and kind of off the cuff. They can be funny, dramatic, political. Really, you can talk about whatever the heck you want. What's most important is that you're talking about something that you're passionate about, because that'll allow you to put some heart into your speech, and that's always the best thing for us to be doing. So different type of interp events that you can do. Interp, obviously short for interpretation. You can have humorous interpretation or an HI, and we'll go and talk a little bit more in depth about each of these. Dramatic interpretation, which is DI. Duo interpretation or duo, program of oral interpretation, POI, POI, whatever, and then we have prose and poetry. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about HI. So HI obviously is funny, it's humorous, and the goal of HI is that you want to convey a message using humor. So humor is kind of your vehicle for how you want to talk about whatever topic you want to talk about. So you are not allowed to use props or have any costuming. We go to all of our tournaments just in our suits and our business formal wear. So it's solely about the performer and just using your body and your voice to bring a piece of literature to life. And so it is just 10 minutes long. So what happens is you pick out a published work, so either a play, a short story, a book, etc., and you find the best parts of it, cut it down to 10 minutes, and you perform that. Somewhere in the beginning, you're going to have kind of an introduction just to tell us what it's about and what you want us to get out of the speech. So next we have dramatic interpretation, and obviously these are going to be primarily dramatic. And I say primarily dramatic because, as it is in all events, just because it's a dramatic piece, it doesn't have to be only sad the entire time. And just like an HI, it doesn't have to be only super funny the entire time. It's much more lifelike and realistic and personable if you can display all different types of emotions. So that's why I say primarily dramatic. And DI is usually more single voiced, and what that means is that the norm for DI is that we usually only use one character. It doesn't have to be that way. You can use many characters, but it's different from HI because usually HI uses a lot of different crazy characters. So this is also going to be 10 minutes. It is also going to be from play, short story, book, whatever, just anything that's published. And you'll use a short introduction in your DI as well. Next, we're going to talk about duo, and the cool thing about duo is that we use two people, so you get to have a partner in this, and this can be either funny or sad, but again, you should use all different types of emotions. The interesting thing about duo is that you have to use offstage focus, so you basically just have to pretend like the other person isn't there, which means you can't look at them, you can't touch them, nothing. We'll look at some examples later on so that you kind of get what that looks like, but yeah. It's also 10 minutes. You get it from the same sources as everything else, and you'll use an intro there as well. So next, program of oral interpretation. This is pretty new on the NSDA, or the National Speech and Debate Association scene. It started in college circuits, but it's making its way into high school just because it's such an awesome event. So this is just one person. It's going to be many types of literature. That's what characterizes a program of oral interpretation, is that you have to use many different types of literature to make an argument. So you'll use parts from a play, a book, poetry, song lyrics, just whatever you want. Parts of news clips, tweets even, really anything published you can use. It doesn't have to be a specific genre, but it should be passionate and argumentative and make a very poignant, important argument. It's also 10 minutes, and you got to have an intro. So prose and poetry are the final ones we're going to talk about. So these are technically supplementary events, and what that means is that you can't qualify to nationals in these events, but once you get there, you can still perform in them. So they're kind of like not lesser events, but extra events. So these are going to be shorter. They're going to be 8 minutes, and you'll read them from a book. So we'll make sure you guys all get books, because prose and poetry you're going to be doing. You'll obviously still have a self-written intro, and then obviously for prose, you'll use a piece of prose. So that's like a book or a short story. Short stories make wonderful proses. Or you'll use poetry. And what's nice about poetry is that you don't have to find one 8-minute long poetry. You can make a program out of it. So you can find many different poems and weave them together to make one big program. So that's really cool about that. So I know these were just kind of a brief overview. We will take tomorrow to look at specific examples of each of those. We'll have kind of a little watch party and watch a bunch of different speech events. It's super fun. But right now, what I want you to do is I kind of want to gauge your interest in what you might want to do later on in this semester, what you might want to get up. So if you really think DI sounds fun, go ahead and take out your phones, open up our survey app, and tell me you think you would want to be doing DI. If you think Duo sounds amazing, totally tell me that. It doesn't matter if you don't have a partner in mind. We'll get that worked out. But yeah, I just want to see where you guys are at. So give that to me in a survey app, and we will get started on getting these events up.